Nicks and Bruises. We are back with another one. Queen's Court coming up next. Um, Queen, how are you doing? Thanks for joining me again.
Of course, of course. Always a pleasure. I'm doing pretty good. I'm down here in Georgia. We were 68 degrees yesterday.
Oh, nice,
so
nice.
so I'm enjoying my time here. But overall, I'm good. The Knicks are looking okay. I mean, we lost to Boston at, the last game. But overall, I think we're doing okay. So I feel pretty good.
Yeah. It was just a ugly, ugly loss. You know, I'm sure we'll talk about that in the weekly review. So I won't even get
Right,
into that.
right.
Today we're gonna talk about Julius Randle versus the Knicks fans. We're gonna go into depth a little bit about Julius Randle. We're gonna talk about the Knicks fans overall. Um, some of their reactions and responses from the past, and try to deep dive into this. So without any further ado, shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is time. Um, Julius Randle, after what was it, the first game in Boston against Boston?
Yes.
Um, he started the game 0 for 6, had some early boos from the crowd.
Hmm.
Um, fourth quarter, he made a basket. The crowd cheered, and he kind of gave a thumbs down to the crowd. Was later on asked about what it meant, why did he
Hmm.
do it, and he said, shut the f up to the fans. I don't believe that video was actually released. The post game comments from Julius Randle. I
Hmm.
think they only released two other players, so the Knicks was PRing that early. But Knicks fans and Knicks media. I think Knicks media. I'll start there. You know, they always picking and poking, trying to get this information, this for clickbait, or to put some type of negative spin on
Right,
what's going on. Now, granted, this is not me justifying anything. I'm just
right,
saying
right,
this
right.
is things that the media does, and if you're gonna play in New York, that's one thing you have to protect yourself from.
Hmm.
Um, and so there's that. But what was your thoughts of the whole controversy initially when you seen the thumbs down? Did you notice it live?
I noticed him doing it live, but it just wasn't a big deal for me at the time. I'm so sorry.
You good?
I just wanted to tell him I'm so sorry, everybody. I
You
have a guest.
you.
I don't want him to. Um, I did notice it. I didn't think it was a big deal at the time. I wasn't really following the papers the next morning. So like 2 days later, when I started reading Twitter and whatever, I said, "Wow, that became such a big deal." I think overall, I don't. I've never had a problem with a player responding to the fans. Um, some people say that they thin-skinned, or sometimes a player will respond on their Twitter account, or sometimes use a burner account. I don't know, but I never had a problem with that. I feel like as a fan, if you could dish it out, you best be able to take it. And they're humans, and to expect that you could just say whatever and that they can't say anything back. And then when they do, the fans just go crazy. I think I read somewhere where people was like, he should apologize. He owes, and I just couldn't. To me, I felt like the entire thing was overblown, and I didn't see why he had to apologize. However, I think him doing that, even though I don't have a problem with it, it just becomes a distraction. It
Hmm.
just becomes a distraction. It just becomes something he has to deal with. Now tonight, who knows what it's going to be like? Um, I don't think the apology made a difference. I think you either like Randall or you don't. Um, or you don't. And I don't think that apology made a difference, because those of us that's rocking with Randall,
Hmm.
that even if we didn't like it, that didn't turn us off from him,
Okay,
right?
I say, I think when you say it doesn't matter whether, because if you like him, you like him. You don't, you don't. You're referring more so to the general fan, right? Or
The
are you
Nick
are
fans, the
yeah,
general Nick fans, yeah.
or but are you including the media as well? Because the media killed them for it too. If you follow the little clips out there,
Right.
they frowned upon it as well, and some former players, if I'm not mistaken,
Well, that part I
has
didn't.
some things
Yeah,
to
I
say.
think I was referring to the
General
fan,
fans.
which is kind of split on Randall. Wow. So yeah, I wasn't aware of former players, and I mean everybody's entitled to their opinion. Um, but I didn't think the opinion the I don't think the apology was necessary.
Hmm.
However, I think it was a good thing to do to try as much as he can after the fact to kind of
Yeah.
bring it down as much as he can.
See, I noticed it live as well, but I didn't obviously didn't know. I didn't know he
Hmm.
meant shut the f up to fans in general.
Hmm.
Watching it live, I thought it was a like one heckler, and he was referring to that heckler or
Right.
whatever the
Hmm.
case. Um, but all right, I agree with you. I don't have a problem with him interacting with the fans or responding to their reactions or any of that. The post game elaborating on it, I don't think that was handled right. I'm glad it didn't really come out, even though it came out
Right.
through the media.
Right.
But let's talk about the fans in general for a second, because I mean we could go back to the playoff series that we were all at, and the fans yelling "F Trey Young"
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the profanities. That's one thing. As a Knicks fan, I didn't I wasn't acting that way. I didn't
Hmm.
like it. It was disgusting to me. Um, let's not even get into the fact of whether or not it had a positive effect for Trey Young. You know what I
Right.
mean? Negative effect for us. We won't even go there. You know what I mean? Like the whole Reggie Miller and Spike Lee thing. We won't
Right.
even go there. But just the fact that we're at the Garden, I get it. We're excited. We haven't been to the playoffs, but there's kids there as well. I take my daughter to games every now and again. I don't think that's a environment that represents the organization well, the city well, us fans well either. So I think a lot of times fans cross the line. They go overboard. They feel like they spent money to go to the game, and they can act any way they want, treat players and say things to players anything they want.
Right.
Excuse me. Um, there was rumors that fans were interacting and going at his wife and with his kid there, and I don't know how accurate that is, but I mean things like that, you you're gonna get a reaction from a man, period, woman, period. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like forget a basketball player, a professional. Like you start doing things like that, you're gonna get reactions, and
No doubt.
most of the time it's not gonna be a positive reaction.
Right.
A professional reaction.
Right.
It could get out of hand. So I
And
had no
and
problem
that's
with it.
go ahead, Tony.
No, go ahead.
I guess what I don't understand is people being offended by it. Like it wasn't like, yo, we went at Randall and he came back at us. Okay. It was like we went at Randall, he came back at us, and he should not have done that. Like, I don't know. I just didn't get it. But I was about to talk about well, Sam Holt's thing. Um
We'll pull that up right after.
the fans offend okay, go ahead.
No, I was
The
just gonna
only
read it. Go ahead.
okay.
You reading? Which one you reading?
Sam
Hope.
Holt.
Go ahead. You read that
Yeah.
one.
The only fans offended by it are the same ones speaking hateful words on the man. And I just want to, yeah, and us fans that support him weren't offended or surprised. We understand the weight of that number 30 jersey. But I think this goes back to, even on Twitter. They go hard at Randall on Twitter, just like they went hard at Peyton on Twitter, with hard at his, I believe it was his mom on Twitter. And now you're saying they went at his wife and child at the game. I think there has to be some boundaries somewhere. Like you do not have to like Randall's game. I get it.
Hmm.
But I always felt, and I think I said this on one of my shows, I always felt that it was more than I don't like his game. He does A, B, C, and D, and I don't like it, and it's hard to watch, and I can't get behind this guy. It was more
Hate.
venomous on
Yep.
top of it. You know what I mean? So I just never understood why people had that strong of negative reaction, not to his game, but just to him overall. I never got it. Even with
Yeah.
Peyton, I never got it. You could talk about his game, but going at his mom, I just never got it.
And I know a lot of people, they call me, they call Sam, they call a bunch of us like, the Randall fan guys or whatever. But I mean, I look at it more of just anybody. You know what I mean? Like certain behavior is not respectable towards anybody. Um,
Right.
yeah. Salute to the chat, Sam Holt. That was a great comment. Um, and I agree. The real fans understand what it takes to wear that jersey, to be the guy. You're gonna take the criticism. I think he's fine with that. I think he dealt with it phenomenally year one
Mhm.
and came back a better player. I think he's gonna have the same type of it's gonna have the same type of effect on him moving forward, and that's why I liked him actually responding, because I think that's the I mean that's showing some energy, some passion, showing you care as well. Um, do you
Yeah.
do you think the media overreacted with it? How big of a story it became?
Now I hadn't read I didn't read a lot of media accounts, but just my understanding of the media and how they cover the Knicks. Yeah, I would say yeah. I mean, listen, I get it for them. It's hard to they're content creators. You trying to find anything you can that's gonna bring viewers and more eyes to your medium. Wherever you work. So in a way, I kind of get it. Um, I guess I couldn't get behind those that were saying he needed to apologize. Like that's what I
Hmm.
couldn't get. I couldn't get behind.
And to the people who simply say, you don't want to get booed, play better. Is it as simple as that? I, for one, am going to say no, because I think, like you said, there's people out there that just don't like him. And it don't matter if he have a good game or not, they still have something negative to say. I respect the ones who at least don't show up that day when he has a good game. You know what I mean? Don't say nothing if you got nothing nice to say. I do want to
Right.
highlight a comment quick, but what do you think about that? The people who say you don't want to get booed, just play better.
I understand. I understand where they're coming from. It's a little deeper for me though. I feel like, and I hope I'm not offending anybody. I hope I'm not offending anybody. But I feel like that's so superficial. It's like not recognizing that, first of all, whoever it is plays for my Knicks. And I am a true blue Knick fan, right? And that also this person is a human being. So it's almost like we're not really connected to you. We not really down for you. If you play well, we'll clap. If you don't, we'll boo. Like, to me, that's just such a superficial
Hmm.
way to engage it. And I hope I'm not offending anybody, but that's just how I see it. For me, when you put on that jersey, you a Nick. And if I'm not feeling a person's game, I'll sit right here and I'll tell you how I feel about RJ. I'll tell you how I feel about Randall. But at the end of the day, they play for my Knicks. So I'm not gonna um, you know, I did say RJ was trash one time. I will admit that. But I don't think like overall just going at him above his game, like going at the man, so to
Hmm.
speak. I'm just not for it. And who was it I was watching? Gilbert Arenas said, we not helping ourselves when it comes to free agency. We're not helping ourselves, in terms of people, coming here. Like, that's something that people are taking into consideration. Do I want to deal with the media? Do I want to deal with these fair weather fans where if you have a bad game or a series of bad games, you're not going to really get their support?
Hmm.
You got to ball out every time if you want their support. So that I think that that's something that some players, maybe not all, that some players do think about when it comes to playing for the Knicks.
I, I agree. I definitely agree. It's a dangerous game we're playing out here. Andrew, what do you say here? It's easy to shoot in an empty arena. The glass slipper has fallen off and has turned into a pumpkin. Julius can be a solid compliment. Nick's gonna need a
At one
a
A,
1A via trade, and the Knicks looking at lottery.
yeah, or the
Um,
Knicks looking at a
or
nine.
the Knicks. Um,
I agree.
I mean, I don't know if I don't agree
Hmm.
because who was our 1A last year? If the argument is Julius is not a 1A, we didn't have one last year, and we made it there. So I think we could still make it there. I think that's still possible. Um, so it's not necessarily lottery bound. If we don't make a move, um,
But do
here I
you
go with
think we can
that
get?
again.
Do you think? I mean, listen, can we get to the playoffs without a 1A? Yeah. People have to step their games up on this team right here, and it's possible. But in terms of advancing in the playoffs, you don't think we need a 1A or two or 1B or whatever you want to call it?
Hit. This is what this is. There's been speculation. I don't know if you have this coming up on Queens Court, but speculation of the Knicks' interest in Jeremy Grant, right?
Yeah, I did see that.
So I'm saying again, do I want a better player than Randle? Absolutely. Um, I don't want it to be the wrong player. It has to be the right player. You know what I mean? So just
Hmm.
making a move to make a move, I don't think is the right thing to do. So obviously it has to be the right thing. But little things to get better is just as good to me. Like I'm sufficed with that. So bringing like a guy like that in, right? If it's possible, I think that improves us enough where we can advance around. When you
You
look at
think Jeremy Grant is going to be? I like Jeremy Grant. I like Jeremy Grant, but I still think we need. I still think we to. I don't think he's going to be enough. I think a point guard in Jeremy Grant, yes,
Yeah, I mean that's our main need no matter what.
no matter what,
But
right?
but but that's I mean I'm saying that's the move that's out there right now. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Do we still need a point guard? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of what we did last year and with whom we did it.
Hmm.
And again, we all thought Fournier, Kemba, those are upgrades. Yes. I still think they're upgrades. It just haven't manifested yet. But I'm looking at it in that same window where Jeremy Grant. Now you're talking about an elite defender or jump, whose offensive game is blossomed. Like he honestly gives me the same vibes that I got when we brought Randle in. He was on my list of guys that I wanted to target, guys who continue to get better year after year and are
Hmm.
still in an upward trajectory.
Right.
That I think that's more important than necessarily going after that A1, depending on who the A1 is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that means as good as you are right now doing that, you're only going to get better. I still believe that with Randle.
Right.
Even with him with having the off year, I think he's still on an upward trajectory. The difference
Right.
is he's not growing at his own pace now. You know what I mean? Like once you came here, it's
Right.
not because of some of us fans, because of New York City itself. It puts a speed on what we want you to end up. Your
Right. To,
you
to
know.
be.
So, but if we keep getting guys who are on an upward trajectory, I'm all for that. And I
I
could
do too.
argue that Kimba wasn't, obviously. So that's why I was a little iffy on the Kimba trade. But Kimba's my guy, Bronx. You know what I mean? Watched him
Right.
his whole career.
Right.
Um, so I had to. I always gotta defend him. But
Right.
he's not necessarily in my list of things that I'm looking for. That's where he was missing that upward trajectory.
Right.
Still getting better. Not a finished product yet. You know what I mean? So
Right. Understood.
that's
Understood.
why I would love to get a guy like Grant. Um, yeah, I think he fits the bill perfectly, especially being a defensive guy who has all the offensive skills as well.
Do you think he could play the three though? Because he kind of plays the same position as Randall, though I do think he has a bit more versatility than, like, say, somebody like Obi, who also plays the same position as Randall.
He's played the three the majority of his career.
Okay.
He's only recently been playing the four, and that's kind of been a trend in the league. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
got um 6'10" guys, but slim, were usually playing the three. You know, for the majority of their time. Nowadays,
Hmm.
they're putting these guys at the four, stretch four. You know what I mean? As that position evolves, I think that's where. But I 100% think he could play the three, because the he's gonna have an advantage on both ends.
Right.
He's a defender anyway, so like I don't think it's a problem if he's guarding a three or a four. And then at the three, he's gonna have better he's gonna have height advantage to shoot over guys, and he's
Right.
been a better shooter as his career got gone on. Let me bring Josh in real quick, and I'm gonna highlight another comment as well. Let's see who.
What's going on?
What
How
up,
are you?
Josh?
How are
Thanks for
you?
joining.
I'm sorry I'm late. I didn't even know you guys were on,
It,
but I made it.
Yeah, we
it's
moved everything up.
it's all good. We basically been talking about something that you've talked about a little bit already. And that's the fans' treatment of Randle, and how Randle responded, and what we think about that. Anybody who didn't see the controversy, you can reiterate your thoughts on that, and then I'll bring up we'll talk about this comment.
Well, in regards to the booing, I mean, listen, the fans have every right to boo. Obviously they pay a ticket, they pay their hard-earned money to come to the games. They have every right to boo. And Julius Randle has every right to express his frustration with the booing. I don't think it has to be either or. You pick a side. I just think that it got blown
Right.
way out of proportion, in my opinion. And of
Right.
course, the fans are eating it up now, and now the fans are going to use it as a rallying cry, particularly the fans that don't like Randle. Right? Oh, you booed us! You booed us! It's on now. It's a battle. It's a war. So unfortunately, that's the situation right now. Hopefully, Randle can be able to play well, silence the critics, silence the boos. If not, it's going to be a long season.
I just think, unlike any other fan base, and maybe there's a few others. Um, you would think that your fans would support you when you're playing, when you're playing, well, hold you accountable. I'm not saying to sugarcoat anything,
Mm-hmm.
or hold a player accountable, but he's on our team. He's still our guy. He's playing terrible. You could say that. But, and then if you want to boo, that's fine. But just the clap, like when he claps back, just people getting so upset over somebody pushing back. Like that's the
Right.
part I just don't, I just don't get it. When I
Yeah.
saw it, I was telling Tone 2 days later, I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? This is a thing?
Steph, like I tell people, and I was telling Sim this, and me and him go back and forth about this all the time. The New York Knicks fan base is just as toxic, if not more toxic, than the media. We just are, and I'm saying we because I'm a part of that fan
I'm
base.
a
You know
part
what
of
I'm
it too.
saying? Like we just are. We perpetuate these narratives. You know, the guy has his head down on the bench. You know what I'm saying? Oh, he's not fully engaged. That means the team doesn't like him. RJ and Randall have a beef. You know, RJ don't like Randall because RJ don't get the ball as much. I just think that a lot of people bring up these narratives that we truly have no idea about. We're not in that locker room. And it just stirs up stuff, and it just snowballs one thing after another, and it just makes people have a certain image of a play that they can't get rid of in their mind. So, and I think that's what's going on with Randall right
I mean, the
Yeah.
the worst thing I heard. I mean, this ain't the worst, but like when people were glad he got COVID,
now. Right,
and posting things of that nature, like how disgusting is that? And then it kind of it makes me embarrassed to what I mean to be a Knicks fan. You know what I mean, because that I don't represent that type of nonsense. It's one thing, like, if you, and it's all about the phrasing, because you could phrase that in a joke and it'd be a tasteless joke, but we get that it's a joke. You know what I mean? But when you're spewing this hate, and it comes off as just that hate, like, I don't get it. I don't get
Yeah.
it.
And I think it's probably a small percentage of the fan base. It's just that the rest of us don't have that energy just to keep going at it and going at it and going at it.
right,
But there's, I don't know, 5, 10%, I don't know what it is of the fan base that's just venomous. And they have so much energy to just keep going at it, going at it, going at people's families, going at people. And it's more than the game. It's more than um him not playing well. It seems almost personal, right?
right. Like they
That's the
know him
part.
personally or something. Yeah,
Hmm.
Oh, he's a bum. He just, I mean, it's wow, it's very intense, and I don't get it. I just don't get it. And this is not about. I see some people in the chat. Oh, I paid $100. Nobody is talking about booing. You want to boo, boo. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about when he claps back and then he doesn't like it. And he says something to you. Now everybody all up in their feelings. Oh, I paid my money. I should be able to do whatever. And you don't have the right to respond. That's what we're talking about.
right.
Or at least that's what I'm talking about.
I
I
agree.
agree. Josh, your thoughts on it's been rumors or speculation that the Knicks have interest in Jeremy Grant. Thoughts on him. Thoughts on what do you think his addition could do for us?
Absolute upgrade. I say we put him at the three. Jeremy Grant can absolutely play the three. He'll be a bigger three, which Thibodeau would love, right? Defense, he's gonna give it to you. Offense, we know he can go out and get his points. I think the Knicks, this will be a great addition for the team. The question is, who do we give up, right? I'm gonna assume, for argument's sake, that Randall or RJ not gonna be included in that trade. So we're talking Mitch, we're talking Burks, we're talking a lot of those other contracts that are there. Fournier, I don't know if the Knicks can move Fournier yet. I believe they can, but I don't know if Detroit would take on that kind of money. But who will we be giving up? For all of it, it don't matter who we give up. I'm going to go out and get a player like that. I think he's a difference maker on this team. No question about that.
I agree with you. I think the Knicks are going to have to give up some young players. I think if they're rebuilding and they're giving up on him, not because he can't play, but because they want to go younger. They're not going to take our older players, I don't think. They're going to want,
Right.
Somebody young that's within the timeline that they are building. And I know this is very unpopular, but I think Obi should be in the trade. And I've said this before,
He would
not
have to
because I
be.
don't, yeah,
Yeah.
not because I don't believe in him, not because I think he's just a rim runner. I see different aspects of his game, and over time, I think those will develop. It's because I just don't see a path forward playing behind Randall. He can't play the three right now. And Tom Thibodeau is just not committed to small ball, probably because of rim protection. And so 19 minutes a game, 10, now it's even less.
Right.
I just think we can turn that into something that we can use at a different position.
And that's where Obi Toppin is valuable, so to speak, because then we can move him. Right? If another team sees that potential, or a lot of the fans see that potential in Obi Toppin, why would another team take him? You get him back a guy like Jeremy Grant, who is much better and fits the team perfectly, right? You got a guy that can plug right there in that 3 position. You can put RJ Barrett at the 2 for those who complain that RJ Barrett shouldn't be playing the 3, and boom, there you go. You got a big, physical, defensive kind of lineup. But also Mitchell Robinson. I think Mitchell Robinson is someone that I think the Pistons would take. I think they would extend him and have him be their long-term center.
I think what makes Mitch attractive, sorry, told me to say this real quick, is I believe if you trade for Mitch, you get his birds rights as well. So I think that's a valuable piece in a trade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me 1 second. I'm so sorry. It's been a long day.
You've been working.
I had to work. Yeah, I had to work on my day off. It threw me off. I agree. I would push for Fournier, and I do 2 picks, and let them choose one of the young guys. Maybe 2. I might even include Mitch and give him a choice of what. Actually, I give him Mitch, Knox, because they could extend both those guys and have them long term. Fournier and a pick, and I think that's more than adequate. I think it's overpaying in a sense, because I think for the most part, if they trade him somewhere else, it's probably going to be based on a pick. That's going to be the value.
So I didn't know Grant, his contract is over at the end of next season.
Mm-hmm. He signed the same.
I don't know about that.
Why not?
So no, the player, he makes a difference with his contract. Like his contract being over.
You're worried about him not wanting to come back?
Yeah, I'm worried about that part of it.
Wow. You don't think he would want to resign in New York?
No. I'm not saying that he won't sign. I'm just saying for the amount of picks that we're giving up,
taking a chance.
Taking a chance. Yeah, it's kind of like a rental, essentially. So
I mean, I do 2 picks and 1 player. You know what I mean? Like, and just Fournier in 2 picks. I do that. I do that in a heartbeat.
Two first?
Yep.
I don't know.
I don't think that, number 1, they're not going to get 2 firsts anywhere else. Number 2, we have first that we could give up that aren't ours and have some type of protection on them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
wait, if no other team is willing to give them 2 firsts, why do we have to give them 2 firsts?
To entice them, to not even think about a bidding war, or to make it get done immediately. And we have the picks to do it. I think I already wanted him anyway, so I'm super high on him. Like I was telling Queen, I think he's one of those players that continue to get better year after year, and hasn't peaked yet. So for him to get the opportunity to make us a better team immediately, but now we can still watch them grow. Like that's one of the things some of these fans don't realize, that Randle, RJ, the guys we have, they haven't peaked yet. They're not at their top form. They're not who they're ultimately going to be at their best. We have to give them time to get there, but the better they are, the more they could do in the meantime. You know what I mean? Like, so.
You're saying get people, like you were saying earlier, that's peaking, and at some point, they'll reach their potential, and then once they do that, we can take off from there.
But we'll still be adequate enough in the meantime. Like, not just getting the playoffs, that doesn't satisfy me. But once you're there, anything can happen. You know what I mean? So I want us to get there every year, and then continue to get better. You know what I mean? If we win it immediately, that's great. But I'm not banking on that, because that's not usually how things work. You know what I mean? Like, usually, and this dates back to the old NBA as well. Like, guys got to the playoffs, they get past the first round. Either there's one team that they can't beat, and they hope they don't match up against them, and they got to figure out how to beat that one team, or you know what I mean? Like, it's always these hurdles that you got to go through. So I appreciate that the Knicks haven't even sniffed that in years since the 90s. But I remember those things. Those have value to me as a fan. So I want to win? Yes. But I'm not one of those guys that's like, we gotta win now. We gotta get the number one. You know what I mean? Because I think that's all fantasy. That's how you get your heart broken. more than being there for the ride and enjoying the ride and you know earn your way to the top.
So Tony, I'm sitting there thinking in my head about what kind of trade would make sense for both sides, right? So first of all, like I said, Grant's contract ends at the end of next year. So a Nerlens Noel contract, I think, wouldn't be enticing because they're going to lose that money anyway with Grant. Same with Alec Burks. Who else money comes off the books? Kemba, Rose. So those contracts wouldn't be enticing, but I think you can add one of those contracts in just to kind of make the money work a little bit. So I'm thinking one of those four guys, Obi, quickly, and a first-round pick.
I mean that works too. But the way the reason I looked at it the way I did is because we're not losing. We're losing Mitch probably being the most important guy that we
forgot about Mitch. Mitch
that we would be losing. But we also saw how good we could be without him. You know what I mean? Like, now, granted, Noel's gonna have to come back to form. But we've seen, like, we didn't see Mitch last year, end of the year playoffs. We didn't see him at all. So that's the way my brain is looking at it. Like, I'm trying to think of how do we improve off of what we saw last year. You know what I mean? And then so that would include trying to keep Obi, try to keep it quickly. Because they're part of that, my vision of watching them still grow and get better. But I mean, if you gotta give them up, I'm fine with that too. I'm not griping.
We can't watch everybody.
I'm not griping with either way. But I think that's a guy that, as crazy as it may sound to others, because he's not the A1 guy or the 1A guy, I would go after him aggressively. You know what I mean? I would give up a little bit more to get him, because I think he fits Tibbs perfectly.
Oh yeah, that's easy. And that's easy right there.
Right. And he's versatile.
And then we could really go after a point guard. You know what I mean? Like a serious point guard, somebody that can put Grant on one side of the floor, Randle on the other, and the point guard is gonna make the decision and see where the double team comes from and who. You know what I mean? That I think we'd be closer to a finished product than a lot of people think, and it would be not just we'll be closer to contention than people think, but we'll also be still getting better. I don't want to go into contention with a team that's going to be on a decline. I mean, granted, we might win, but we might.
Yeah, I'm looking at those four contracts that I mentioned that expire at the end of next year. So it probably wouldn't be Rose. He came from there already. It probably wouldn't be Kemba. It's going to have to either be Nerlens or whoever that other Burks, one of those two, right? Let's say Nerlens, Obi. That's $16 million right there. And then another contract filler, probably IQ, another young player, IQ, Grimes, somebody like that, and a first-round pick. I think that gets it done. Detroit goes younger. They still got $10 million coming off their books at the end of next season, and they get a pick out of it. I think that works for both sides.
And listen, don't discredit Fournier as having value, because you can't have a team of just young guys. You need a vet. Like, let's not forget that.
Is he the vet though? Is he the vet for a young player? For a young team.
I don't know. I'm just saying that may be a reason why he is a option, because you need somebody, you need a vet that can navigate.
I'm just looking at his contract, Tony. That's the only thing for me. His contract is longer than the contract that they're giving us. So at that point, they will want to shed salary. So I don't see a reason why they would take Fournier. That's the.
Why does a young team like that want to shed salary? They're not necessarily in the running for a big fish. You know what I mean? And then when they get a big fish, the big fish is not going to want to be there. So Fournier is the perfect salary type player that gives you a big contract. That if you do make a move, he's gonna be able to absorb, be the big part of the trade. Let's say they are in the running for a big fish. Then Fournier's contract becomes valuable because of the amount of money it is that it's gonna absorb the part of the contract you're taking back.
You're talking about in a trade.
Yes.
If you I hear what you're saying, but if I'm Detroit, I don't want Fournier. Like, what has Fournier done, even with the Knicks, that I would be like, this is my guy. This is the vet that I want around my team. I mean, they're looking at him. If they want a vet, I don't think he's in that circle of vets that you want to bring in to kind of help your young player. I don't think his name would come up at all.
The reason I disagree because he kind of been there already. Now, granted, what he's done with the Knicks, no value. I agree. I'm basing it off of everything else. Like I'm not basing it off his time with the Knicks. That's the one thing that works against us. But this is also why it would have to be pick driven. The picks are the value for them because now they could keep building their young core. But they need a vet regardless. You know what I mean? I think who's the vet you're saying?
And he's not even all that vet. How old is Fournier?
Fournier is like 28, 29.
He's not even.
I was saying Nerlens just because of the contract. Just because Evan Fournier's contract is a little bit longer. And I think if a team like Detroit is willing to shed salary, that's essentially what they're doing. They're shedding salary by trading Grant. You get two younger guys and you got more money coming off the books the same year. I think that makes more sense than bringing in Fournier for another season.
I think Grant wants out and they're appeasing him. I think that's what that's about. I don't think it's about them wanting to shed salary.
I think that's part of it, though.
They have salary. They have salary caps still. If this they could be major players in the free agency still with Grant on that contract. The problem is Grant went there thinking he was playing with Blake Griffin, Derrick Rose. He thought he was trying to build something. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, not necessarily contend for a title, but make the playoffs, be competitive. Like, he didn't go there for that. He wanted to be the man. He wanted to be the man. I mean, I don't know.
Not necessarily shedding salary, but them just wanting to go young and just thinking that he's not in their timeline anymore. Now that they got Cade, now that they got whatever that other point guard is, that he's just not. Like, when we got him, we was thinking one way, but now that we're looking at our team and how it's developed over the last few years, I think we want to go young. So it could be both. It could be either or is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I don't see Grant. Grant, to me, that move would be more about building a team step by step, piece by piece, just putting pieces together. And hopefully you get a team, that's bigger than the individual parts, right? You just get that chemistry, you go on that run, or you become a good, solid team. I don't think he's that guy that, that puts us over the top, so to speak. He's just another piece that we just keep building and adding pieces and adding pieces.
I agree. That's my mind frame. That's what I want to do. Get the pieces, see how they fit.
Right.
Overachieve. you know what I mean? Like, surprise some people. But because I don't know, depending on who the big fish is, I'd rather not even go that route. It doesn't usually work. And nowadays,
depends on who it is, though. It depends on who it is.
Like, even Dame, I'm scared of making a move for Dame.
Well, only because of his age. But what if he was 29? Would you be afraid?
No.
Not
even. But that's the thing. Like, if we're gonna go do that, I still want a young guy. I want a guy who's not in his prime yet. And it's just so phenomenal now before his prime. That you know what I mean. That's I think that's the way you move. But we'll see. I'm interested. I think he would be a great addition. I think he's I don't want to say defensive player of the year type, but he's definitely in the lockdown defender mode.
Right.
Like
And this is the other thing. Because it's step by step, piece by piece, we got to be careful how much of our assets we give up because it's just a piece. We still got to
Right.
go out and get other
mm-hmm.
pieces.
I think getting him though, all we really need anyway is a point guard.
And a
But
center.
yes, I think the center we could find though. I think the center we could find. I, I I think the point guard is the hardest piece,
Yeah.
especially like the kind of point guard I want
Mhm.
because they're rare. Like Rondo, I think would have been so perfect. Um, it, between him and Chris Paul, there's not many point guards in that mold. That
Oh, you mean playmaking pass first point guards?
yes, but basketball IQ. So I mean, Chris Paul has the ability to still take over a game offensively. We've seen that from Rondo as well, not on the same level as a Chris Paul, but and then defense as well with both of them. Like Chris Paul miniature, and he's still an elite defender. Um, so you gotta check those boxes for me. Defense, facilitate, like really control the game.
And hit the
You
three. You got to be able to stretch
yeah.
the defense. Yeah.
So I just did a trade machine. I did Jeremy Grant for Burks, Noel, Obi, and a first round pick, and it went through. I'm thinking the
What
reason
was
why I
the
don't have
wins
for us
for both?
zero for both teams.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I'm not really looking at that. I'm just looking at the fit of the team. This is all projected stuff like that.
Right.
But I think that will
Right.
probably work for them because then they got, let me see, between Alec Burks and Nerlens, that's 9.5 and 9. That's what, $18 million coming off their books. The same time Grants will come off, and then they get Obi and they get a first round pick. That's attractive for a team. You get a young player and a first rounder.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what they're making the trade for. Not to mention what they get in the intermediary until then. So yeah, I like that. I'm comfortable with that. No problem. Bye.
And who are the young guys? They pretty much set at point guard, right?
Yeah, Cade. They got Frank Jackson, Hamidou Diallo, Saban Lee. What's the
What's
big?
the point guard they drafted last year too?
Cade.
Hayes,
Cunningham.
Killian Hayes.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Killian Hayes. Forgot about him. And then the big that they got, the college player of the year, Garza.
Garza. Yeah.
They got him too. So yeah, I think Obi will flourish. I think Obi could take over that team. He could be their next.
With
You know what I'm
Cade.
saying? With Cade, yeah, I think that looks good for me.
Yeah.
I think that'll work. Plus the first round pick that they get, I would pull a trigger on that, no problem.
The other teams that are also bidding, I think it was the Lakers, two other teams. Asset wise, do the Knicks have the most assets out of those teams? I forget who the other two were.
So I know we got more than the Lakers. The Lakers don't have any cap space, and they really don't have an abundance of picks, and they don't have an abundance of young guys. All they got is veteran contracts that they can move. So I don't know. The Lakers, no, we definitely have more assets than them.
I mean, it depends on what they value or how they value the individual players, though. Like, so a Horton Tucker may be more valuable to them.
That's their best asset.
Than
Who's that?
Something.
THT. Horton Tucker.
I'm saying it depends on what they value. You know what I mean? Like, and but even with that, it's gonna be him, and then it's gonna be tough to find the matching salaries because I don't know what he makes. But let's say it's 8, they still got to find 10. Well, I guess the veteran minimum now is about 10 million anyway, right? Or the mid level is around the mid level. They might have somebody on
Mid level, yeah, like 8 something, 8 almost 9 million, I believe it was.
So let's look at the Lakers. So Lakers don't have any cap space. Okay. Horton Tucker, let's see, 9.5 million. Salaries going up like every year. Most of their roster, they got a bunch of 1 year guys: Malik Monk, Bazemore, DeAndre Jordan, Avery Bradley, Dwight, Ariza, Carmelo, Wayne Ellington. These are all 1 year deals, so they're flexible in that aspect where they could be able to trade some of these guys. But the thing is, these guys barely make enough money. Like what I was telling you about Mitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
2.5, 2 million, like that's nothing. That's just trade fillers, right? They really don't have anybody that's like an attractive contract except THT, really.
What's Monk making?
Monk is
5 million,
making
I think.
$1.5 million.
Oh my goodness!
He's like, it's not worth anything.
And Bazemore,
same thing. 2.2, 2.5.
Oh wow,
1 year
so
contract.
yeah, that's gonna be their problem trying to well, Detroit also has cap space, so yeah, no, they gotta match it. They gotta match.
Yeah, and another thing, because of all that, yeah, I'm sorry, Tony. Another thing, like all this money that's coming off the books, that's 2.5, all of that, like you have to assume that a team is really trying to save money for this upcoming offseason where not that many people are available, not that many names are available in the free agent market. So I don't see the Lakers as being a really good trade partner unless they can find a way to somehow get rid of Westbrook's contract. THT is a good piece for them. THT, they probably sacrifice some draft picks or what have you, but outside of that, the Lakers really are stuck until the offseason.
All right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you guys
Oh,
on the other side.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for joining.
All right, Queen.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care.
We'll close it up now. Shout out to J Boogie, Bodega Wi-Fi, Brother BKL, Sanga, Julian, still Knicks fans. Shout out to all you guys. Appreciate you guys for joining. Jump right over to the Queen's Court. We're about to jump over to the Queen's Court, get that thing going, and go Knicks. Shout out to the chat. Josh, appreciate you. Check Josh out on the controversy. He just talked about the whole Julius Randle.
I ain't scared of you, mother. No.
Julius Randle and the fans with Sim. And you had another controversy too, right?
Yeah, I did a controversy this past Saturday with my man Hard Will from For the Love of the Game podcast. So check that out. We were arguing about RJ Barrett. I couldn't get a word in, but I let him talk. So you'll never say I'm not fair.
Oh wow, you didn't get it. I got it. I must not have finished it. I seen the first half at work. But yeah, shout out to you guys, man. Appreciate you for joining. Yo, Black, it's time.